Hello, I can't resist a bargain. I picked up this Workmate at a car boot sale for £3. I didn't even bother haggling with him. It's a little on the rough side and quite stiff, so I think I can fix it up. First job is to take it all to bits. Actually, before I get the tools out and get carried away, I'm going to take lots of pictures because it's easy taking things apart. Remembering how they all go back together again is slightly more tricky. The colour of this thing is grey, so I don't know if it is an original Black & Decker and it's actually faded black, or if it's a knockoff one. I think it's an original and the colour has just faded. It's definitely quite old because these wooden tops are actually made of hardwood and not the kind of more modern ones. Like the rest of it, those tops are not in the best condition, so I think I'll make some new ones. These bolts look like they're galvanised, so they've held up well to the years of abuse, which is good because I can reuse them. So once I take them off, I'm trying to put them back together, and that will keep all the bits that go together. Might need a bigger bench. So when someone proudly took this home from the shop and put it together, I think there would have been some self-assembly required. The legs are labelled left and right. So I think this stage I've got to now is probably how it came, but this really needs painting. So I want to take all this apart as well. Now, this kind of scissor mechanism is probably the most complicated, so make sure I've got some good photos of this. Now, it definitely wasn't for a user to take apart because it goes on, I think they're called like star lock things, and I might have to break them to actually get them off, and I have to order some new ones. Oh yeah, that's just popped off across the workshop, so definitely need a new one of those, but there are galvanised washers in between. This one I can't get a screwdriver under it to pry it off, so I'm going to try just tapping it out with a mallet. They are in good, but it's moved it enough that I can get a screwdriver under it at least. I think what I could do now is get some side cutters on it and just snip it off. That seemed to work well. Luckily, these were rusted and horrible, and I had no intention of reusing them. I have a pile of parts that are all pretty filthy, so I'm going to get some hot soapy water, take them outside, and give them all a good clean down. This is all dry, so let's get it painted. What I've got to paint it is some of this Jesmonite Director Rust stuff. I used a different shade of it to do my pillar drill. I've gone for a cardinal red. I did think about just doing it black again, but I thought, why not make it a bit more interesting? I hope I haven't been too bold with my choice. After cleaning this, I'm pretty impressed with the condition of everything, because looking at the wood, it looks like everything's been outside for a while, and there was a few bits of concrete I had to chip off, but the only little bits of rust are where the steel fixings were. So yeah, it's held up really well. This stuff says to give it 2 coats, and I can see it's definitely going to need that. But the good thing is, you've only got to wait 20 minutes between the coats, so we should get this done in no time. That's 2 coats on everything. Now you need to leave it 12 hours to fully harden. That paint should be dry, so let's get this put back together. I'm going to start with the legs, because they're the most complicated bits with these scissory bits to go on. So luckily I've got all my pictures as reference. Got the bits in the right place, but I'm forgetting to put the washers in between. So go back and get them all in place. Now, Posty's been, and I've got some new of these Starlock washers. To get them installed, what I think I'm going to do is use a 13mm socket. So I can get the washer kind of put in place, get the socket pushed over it, and then, yeah, that seemed to work. If the other bits didn't bounce off. Okay, they were pretty easy to get put together. So that's one frame done. Now I'm just going to do exactly the same with the other. Right. Let's get these 2 legs attached together. So the legs splay out, so they'll be on the outside. And this bit can go on, get lined up. Get a bolt put through with a washer. Another washer on the other side, and then get the nut done up. This is all pretty simple because a lot of the parts are just identical. So they go on in the same way, and you don't have to worry about the different nuts and bolts and things. A few of the parts, even though they do different jobs, they've been manufactured so they will go on either way round with the same holes in and things. So yeah, it's pretty simple to get back together, this. I'm only doing everything thumb tight for now, and when I've got all 8 in place, I'll come back with a screwdriver and the ratchet and get them tightened up. Now for the actual vice mechanism, and this is a good example how you've got 2 parts that are the same but do different things. Because the one that actually moves, that goes on with a 17mm bolt, and it's got 1 hole for that. But the stationary one goes on with some, I think they're 8mm bolts. They go in a couple of different holes. So it's nice like that, because you don't have to worry that everything goes into different places. Now, I'm not going to over tighten this because it needs to move. It just needs to be on with a slight bit of play in it. Okay, that's that together. But before getting installed, I think what I'll do is give it a little lubrication with some white lithium grease. Just easier to do while it's on the bench. Ah, feels better already. I've said it's good that these bits kind of work either way around you put them, but now when I come to put this back together, I've got to work out which side the screw goes. It probably doesn't matter, but I would like to get it the way it was. So that is it, all back together, and that was pretty simple. I always worry when I take things apart I'll never be able to get them back together again, especially when there's things I've never done on it before, like those star lock washers. I thought they might be tricky, but they're a bit tricky to get off, but incredibly simple to put on. Right, so now, if I don't knock things off my shelves, all it needs now is a new top. And what I have is a couple of nice big chunks of oak. I'm definitely going to make this top a lot thicker and a lot heavier than it was before. But I think I'll keep them the same length because that's basically all I can do with these blocks. I might have them slightly wider and definitely thicker. This is all a bit rough, this wood, so the first job I'm going to get it planed and thicknessed, and then I can cut it to its final length. I just grabbed my auger bit out and was about to work out the pattern of the holes I want in my new top. But then I thought, I don't really like dog holes in my benches. I don't mind a few, but I also want a bit of bench that has no holes in. And with this, it means pretty much all of it has holes in. So I don't think I'm going to do it. I much prefer a vise. And obviously this whole thing is a vise. And clamps. I've got loads of clamps, so I'm not sure I'd ever use them. But the good thing is, I can just add them whenever I want if I decide in the future. So what I'm going to do now is just give it all a sand down. To finish this, I'm going to use some beeswax oil. So I'm just going to pour a bit on and get it rubbed in and leave it all to dry. The finish is dry, so now I need to get the two installed. So the first job, I'm going to wind these into their closed position. So now I should be able to get it positioned onto the wood. I've got it so it straddles the gap evenly. Now I can get it locked into place with some screws. Now one thing that was actually missing from this was the feet. So I've got some of these caps. They're not the original ones. They were available, but because I don't actually know that this is a Black & Decker one, I think it is, I don't know their fit. So I've got these that just tap into place, but they've got threaded inserts, some M8 ones in there. So I've ordered some leveling feet to go in there. which haven't turned up yet, but I think they're going to work great. So that is it all done. I quite like the colour. Let's see if we can get these jaws to open. I always forget which way you've got to turn them, because you've got to turn them both in the same way, which never seemed right to me. Oh yeah, works great. Such a nice solid top this, it'd be so much nicer to work on. I'm really pleased with how this come out. I love the colour, the chunky top is great, so much nicer to work on. So now I'm going to be able to go outside to work if I want, and I think when I've got the levelling feet, which is just going to rise it up slightly more, I'm going to be using it as an outfeed table for the table saw when I do some long ribs. So I think that was a great £3 bargain. So thanks for watching. Thanks to my patrons, and please subscribe for more videos.